Hello students, today's lecture will be on classification of movements. This is for first year and mainly focused on theory lecture. Passive movement, as it is your long case, it will be earlier covered in your lectures. So today only the classification of movements will be based on. At the end of the session, the student should be able to define and classify the movements. They should be aware regarding the principle of the movements and the effects, uses, and techniques which are involved in the movements, like inactive, free exercises, assisted resisted exercises, resisted exercises, and progressive resisted and passive exercises. From these topics, passive movement is your long case and resisted exercises is a part of a second year lecture. So mainly emphasis will be on the active exercises in this theory lecture. Now starting with the movement definition. Movement is a fundamental characteristic of all animal life and the means by which the organisms adapts itself to the demands made upon it by the environment in which it lives. So this is the definition of movement. Now the classification of the passive and the active movement. As everyone is aware now, because we are done with the practical, passive movement is a movement which is done by someone else, either manually or mechanically. Mechanically, you can use the suspension unit or continuous passive movement modality, or by other hand by the patients, but the force will not be generated by the patient himself. This is the mainly case of neurological conditions or post-traumatic fracture, or the patient is not able to move the grading of the movement, grading of the muscles will be grade 0. Then only we will doing the passive movement. Active movements, when the patient is voluntarily able to perform the movement, then it will be the active movement. Now under classification of passive movement, there is relaxed passive movement including the accessory movement and passive manual mobilization technique. Again, relaxed passive movement we have seen, or we have just practiced the relaxed passive movement which is in a part of your long case. The passive manual mobilization techniques includes the movement occurring between the articulating surface, like mobilization which manipulations like the Carlton bond technique, Maitland technique, Mulligan technique. This will be a part of your third year lecture. So in first year you only learn the relaxed passive movement. Now in active movements, again there is a classification. One is the voluntary, second is the involuntary. Involuntary, you are quite aware, you perform the reflex testing. So that is the part of an involuntary movement where the patient do not perform any movement, but with the help of a hammer, if you tap on the tendon of a muscle, then there is a jerk, there is some action. So those action is performed which is involuntary. Voluntary movement are the assisted free exercises, assisted resisted, and the progressive resisted exercises. Now one by one we will be seeing all the movements on all the exercises. Now starting with the active exercises. What is active exercises? By definition, it is a movement performed or controlled by the voluntary action of muscles working in opposition to an external force. So here the force is generated by the patient's muscle. The movement performed or controlled by the voluntary action. So voluntary action is performed. The patient is able to perform some activity. Whatever action is performed is voluntarily. So this is the active exercises. Now under active exercises there are certain classifications, like free exercises. The working muscles are subject on, there is some mistake in the PPT. The working muscles are subject only to the force of gravity acting upon the part moved or stabilized. So free exercise, you may be knowing that if patient is just performing against the gravity, then it is a free exercises, like just performing the shoulder flexion, shoulder abduction in the plane where against the gravity. There are two plane. In grade 2 you perform the movement in gravity eliminating plane. In grade 3 the patient performs the movement against the gravity. So those movements are considered as a free exercises. Assisted exercises, when muscle strength or coordination is inadequate to perform a movement and external force is applied to compensate for the deficiency. As you know that assisted movement is applied in grade 2, or the progression from grade 1 to grade 2. In what is grade 0 to 5, grade 0 the patient is not able to perform any movement, so we perform passive movement. When the grading or strength of the muscle is increased, then when the patient muscle is grade 1, there is some flicker of contraction. Patient try to perform some movement, but it will be only a flicker. Then the therapist will be assisting the movement. In grade 2 also the patient will be able to perform in gravity eliminating plane, but whenever he is able to or try to perform the movement against the gravity, what will happen? The patient will not be able to complete the full range of motion, as the forces generated by the muscle is not adequate. So again the patient, if patient is a hemiplegic patient, then with a normal hand or with a normal side the patient can assist the affected part and can perform the movement, or either the movement will be performed by the therapist. So it is assisted exercise. Assisted resisted, muscles may be strong enough to work against resistance in part of the range. Part of the range will be either in the initial range of motion or till the middle range of motion, but cannot able to complete the full range of motion, and not in others. These type of exercise ensure that the external force applied are adapted in every part of the range to the abilities of the muscles. So this will be assisted resistance. Example, when the progression is from grade 2 to grade 3. In grade 2 the muscle will be able to the patient will be able to perform the full range of motion in gravity eliminating plane. But when you take the same muscles to tell the patient to perform in grade 2 against the gravity, patient can initiate against the gravity but will not be able to complete. So at that time the assistance will be needed. So initially the therapist can give a resistance in the initial range of motion, but afterwards to complete the range of motion against the gravity there should be some assistance. Now next will be the resisted exercise. Once the grade 3 or more than grade 3 comes, then you can start the resisted exercises. The forces of resistance offered to the action of the working muscle, and resistance can be offered with the help of a string, with the help of a TheraBand, with the help of mechanical tools like rowing machines, with the help of dumbbells, with the help of a weight curves. So these are the varied tools which are used for the resisted exercises. And in progressive resisted exercise, which again will be a part of a second year, there are certain techniques like Oxkin methods, or McEwen's method, or Oxford method, or Dapre method, where you just go on increasing the weight or you go on decreasing the load depending upon the target, whether you want to increase the endurance or you want to increase the strength. So it depends upon the 1 rm, 10 rm. The calculation of 1 rm is 1 repetition maximum. Whenever the patient is able to perform one single repetition and will not be able to repeat that second repetition with that particular load, is 1 repetition maximum. If 60% of 1 repetition maximum will be the 10 rm, usually approximately it is 10 rm. So whenever you are the patient is able to do the 10 repetition with certain load and patient will not be able to complete the 11th repetition, then those is the 10 repetition maximum of the uh, of that muscles of the patient. So these are the resisted exercise, and the same way we perform the progressive resisted exercise, that will be a part of a second year strengthening topic. Now comes the classification of the free exercise. Again, in the classification of the free exercises, there are certain classifications. One is the localized, depends upon the extent of the area, localized and general, and according to the particular, subjective or objective. If you are just focusing on the localized exercises are designed primarily to produce some local and specific effect, for example to mobilize a particular joint or to strengthen particular muscle. So when you are targeting a particular group of a muscle or particular joint, it is localized, then it will be the local. Example will be the shoulder. If you are targeting the shoulder flexor group of muscles or shoulder abductors or the elbow flexor, then local area you are targeting a local joint. Group movement is localized to one or more joint either by the use of a suitable starting position or by voluntary fixation other areas by the patient own muscular effect. Then comes the general exercise. What is general exercise? General exercises usually involve to use of many joints and muscle all over the body, and the effect is widespread. Example: running, swimming, aerobic exercise where you are just targeting the whole body. General exercises will be done. Then come the subjective and the objective. Subjective usually formal, more or less consist of anatomical movement performed in full range. Here the attention of the patient is deliberately focused on the form and pattern of the exercise to ensure accuracy of performance. Then comes the objective exercise, are those during the performance of which the patient attention is concentrated on the achievement of a particular aiming. So objective will be when the therapist give some exercises to the patient like overhead activities, then or throwing a ball or touching a mark on the ball to increase the range of motion, then those will be the objective based exercises. Now come the techniques of the free exercises. The like in passive movement, same way starting with the free exercises, you have to first see the give the positioning to the patient so that the particular muscle can be targeted. You just give the instruction to the patient, speed and the duration of the movement is for now we will go in the techniques. The starting position is selected and taught with care to ensure the maximum postural efficiency as a basis for movement. So there should not be a trick movement. You focus on the target muscle and you see whether there is stabilization if required or not. Mostly in grade 3 stabilization is not required majorly. So only thing is that postural efficiency should be proper. Second, instruction. The instruction will be given properly by the therapist. If the patient is not, whatever the language the patient understand, the instruction has to be given in that language. If patient doesn't understand the movement, sometimes you use the anatomical terms, so patient does not understand, like the abduction of the shoulder. Many of the patient doesn't understand the word abduction. Then you have to first demonstrate the patient, or you passively move that particular joint, or you perform the activity, then you tell the patient to perform that activity. You observe that movement whether the patient is performing it correctly or not. If you are trailing the patient to do the overhead activity and throwing the ball, whether the patient is able to perform that particular movement properly or not. And then come the speed of the movement. The speed at which the exercise is done depend on the effect required. It is usually slow during the period of learning, and the later the patient is either allowed to find his own natural rhythm or the speed required is dictated by the therapist. It often helps the patient to maintain his natural rhythm at home if during practice under supervision he is encouraged to count aloud. So speed should not be too much, or speed should not be, if there is a painful scenario, then the speed can be decreased. If the patient should not perform the jerky movement, then the normal speed has to be maintained. So the therapist should always be there for the supervision. Duration of the movement. The duration of the exercise depends very largely on the patient capacity. Usually 3 bouts of practice for each exercise with short rest period or a change of activity between ensure sufficient practice without undue fatigue. Now it depends upon the goal of the exercises. So if you are following a strengthening protocol, you increase the resistance, you increase the load, then the duration will be depending or varies to the patient to patient. If you are giving exercise to the geriatric patient, obviously there can be a fatigue, or the neurological cases like multiple sclerosis. Fatigue plays an important role. So you have to perform the conservation of energy technique. So duration can increase as you are giving a more break period in the geriatric cases. So it may vary from patient cases to cases. Now the effect and uses of the free exercises. First effect will be the relaxation. As you are performing a movement, what happened, rhythmical movement, then there is a principle of pendular which happens, and assist the relaxation of the hypertonic muscles in the region of the joint mood. The alternating and reciprocal contraction and relaxation of the opposing muscle groups which is required to sustain the movement helps to restore the normal state of relaxation which follows contraction. This type of exercise is used in conjunction with other methods which induce relaxation to reduce a state of wasteful tension in muscles, which limits the range of joint movement and reduces the efficiency of neuromuscular coordination. So exercise which work particularly muscle groups strongly achieve reciprocal relaxation of the opposing muscle. Example, work for the scapula. So in relaxation technique, you have seen the contrast method also. You tell the patient to contract that muscle until and unless it is relaxed. So whenever you are performing any activity or task, what will happen, the muscle will work, and after certain period it will be relaxed. So first effect will be the relaxation. Now joint mobility. Second is joint mobility. The normal range of motion is maintained here by performing a full range of movement. You are giving an activity to maintain a joint mobility. If and when the range of movement is limited, rhythmical swinging exercises incorporating overpressure at the limit of the free range may serve to increase it. Third is the muscle power and tone. Now, the power and the endurance of the working muscles are maintained or increased in response to the tension created in them. This tension is greater when the exercise is performed at any speed, which is slower or more rapid, than when the natural speed of the movement is employed, and it increases with the duration of the exercise. A high degree of tension and consequent increase in power can be developed by free exercises when the muscle work by any time against the resistance offered by the body weight or against the mechanical disadvantage of an adverse leverage provided by a long and heavy limb. Normally what happens, the muscle power is maintained adequately by a minimum of everyday activities, most of which are performed in the middle range under abnormal conditions. However, for example, during fixation of joint, the power can only be maintained or improved by repeated static contraction which the patient must practice throughout the day. Now comes the neuromuscular coordination. So if there is incoordination, you perform the equilibrium and non-equilibrium test, which is a part of a second year. But whenever there are coordination issues, then you follow the repetition, you follow the Frankel exercises. So you give the active movements, you tell the patient, you give a target, you tell the patient to repeat it until and unless it is improved. So coordination is improved by the repetition of exercises. As the pattern of movement is established, it is simplified and becomes more efficient, and the conduction of the necessary impulses along the neuromuscular pathway is facilitated. Exercises or activities which at one time required concentration and much effort become with practice more or less automatic in character as skill is developed, as for example in walking or playing the piano. So as you perform it, the movement on repeated basis, it gets improved on day by day. So your neuromuscular coordination also improves. Confidence. Once the patient is able to perform certain activities, patient is become independently, he is able to perform his own hygienic care, or he is independently able to walk around, or he is able to do the overhead activities, can go to the kitchen, or can go attend the social activities. His confidence increases and he is involved independently, he performs his own activities. Last will be the circulatory and respiratory cooperation. During vigorous or progressive prolonged exercises, it is apparent that the speed and depth of respiration is increased, and that the heartbeat is faster and more forceful, and that heat is produced. Whereas in light exercises, these changes are so slight that they are not noticed. Now we'll go for the assisted exercises. Now we'll some assisted exercises, as you may, as I have told you earlier, that in grade 1, when patient is not able to complete the range of motion, there will be some flicker of movement. At that time, assistance is needed and you perform the assisted exercises. Now the principle of assistance. When the force exerted on one of the body levers by muscular action is insufficient for the production or control of the movement, an external force may be added to augment it, and the external force will be added with the help of the therapist hand or the mechanical, like suspension or something you can use. This external force must be applied in the direction of the muscle action, but not necessarily at the same point, as the mechanical advantage can be gained by increasing the leverage. The magnitude of this assisting force must be sufficient only to augment the muscular action and must not be allowed to act as a substitute for it, for if it does a passive movement results. Now again, technique for assisted exercises. Again, you give a starting position to the patient. Here, stability of a body as a whole ensure that the patient whole attention is concentrated on the pattern of the movement and the effort required to perform it. As the muscle here, the muscle strength is not so much that patient will be able to perform the movement properly, so the assistance is given. So there are chances that if the starting position is not proper, there are chances that trick movement can be will be there, or the targeted muscle group will not be activated properly. Second is the pattern of the movement. This must be well known and understood by the patient. It can be taught by passive movement, or in case of the limb movement, by active movement of the contralateral limb, or can be demonstrated by the therapist himself. Come the fixation. Adequate fixation of the bone of origin of the prime movers improves their efficiency. Support. The part of the body moved is supported throughout to reduce the load on the weakened muscle by counterbalancing the effect of the force of gravity. This support may be provided by the therapist hand, suspension sling, a polished horizontal surface such as the re-education board, the buoyancy of the water, or by the help of a ball bearing skates. The advantage of manual support is that it can be effective in which plane is most suitable for the movement, and the assistance adjusted to what is required in each successive part of the range. comes the antagonistic muscle. Every effort must be made to reduce tension in the muscles which are antagonistic to the movement. The starting position of the movement should be chosen to ensure that tension in this muscle is minimal. Example, in position in which the knee is flexed is suitable for assisted dorsiflexion of the foot. Traction. Preliminary stretching of the weak muscle to elicit the myotactic reflex provides a powerful stimulus to contraction. Other means of facilitating the activity of the muscles may also be used. So this technique can also be used in PNF technique. Assisting force. The force used to augment the action of the muscle is applied in the direction of the movement, preferably by means of the physiotherapist hand, which should be placed in such a way that they rest on the surface of the patient's skin, which is in the direction of the movement. In some cases, the patient's own hand may be substituted for those of the therapist hand, provided they thoroughly understand the procedure. So, again, the assisting force can be either if therapist is performing the movement in the clinic, or if you are treating the patient at that time, the therapist can be generate the assisting force. And if you are giving a home program or home exercises, then in hemiplegic patient, like the normal hand can be used to assist the affected one. So the patient can perform the exercises in home also. Now comes the character of the movement. The movement is essentially smooth, as this is characteristic of efficient voluntary movement, and it is performed in response to a forceful command which demands the patient's full attention. The speed of the movement depends on the muscles involved, as each of its own optimum rate of contraction, which varies according to its structure and the load. So it may vary physically or physiologically also from patient to patient, and also depending upon the age group and depending upon the targeted muscle groups. Repetition. The number of times the movement is repeated depends on whether it is considered advisable or injurious to the fatigue of muscle in question. So it depends on the therapist, depend upon the treatment plan, it depends on the condition of the patient, whether the repetition is should not hamper the muscle. Like earlier I have told, in multiple sclerosis there should be conservation technique. So you just give a break, and the repetition should not be such that the fatigue level will be increases, because what will happen if fatigue is increased, the progression is again decreased, and there will be a degradation of muscle. So conservation of energy is important in certain cases. So repetition depends upon the condition of the patient. Then the cooperation of the patient is essential during these type of exercises, the aim being for him to achieve control active movement without assistance. So here the patient can perform the flicker of movement, and you are performing the assisted exercise. The next will be the grade 2, that is the patient should be able to perform actively all the movement in gravity eliminating plane. So that is our aim. The effects and uses, again, strengthening, the grade has to be increased. The patient should be able to perform the movement actively, at least in gravity eliminating plane. So strengthening of the muscle is required. Second, restore balance of the muscle power is required. And by frequent repetition of the correct pattern with decreasing assistance, the patient may relearn to control the movement himself, as the conduction of impulses is facilitated in the neuromuscular pathway. Assisted exercises may therefore be helpful in training the coordination also and increased blood flow. Confidence in the ability to move is established when the patient observes the movement and the fact that his muscle cooperation in producing it. The knowledge that the knee is supported throughout and the movement attempted be achieved encourage the patient to make a maximum effort. And whenever the patient is performing a movement, or you are performing or you are completing the range of motion, there is a contraction of the muscle. So locally to that area there will be an increased blood flow. Now come the assisted and resisted type of exercises. This type of exercises constitutes a combination of the assistance and the resistance during a single movement, and whenever it is possible, it is preferably to assist exercise as it meets the needs of the muscle with greater accuracy. So there will be some combination of the things we perform in assisted and resisted exercises, and then come the resisted one. So in assisted and resisted exercises, you follow both the patterns. So combination of the repetition resisted and there will be a starting position, again the comfortable position, so that the patient range of motion should be completed. Initially the patient is able to perform the movement, so you can give the resistance, you can apply the resistance, and for rest of the range of motion completing you require a assistance. So the patient's position should be such that the range of motion should be completed. And the pattern of the movement, again this must be well known by the patient and can be taught as passively or a free exercise can be demonstrated by the therapist himself. Fixation wherever needed. There should be stabilization, support, the antagonistic muscles. Same thing will be traction, the assisting force, the character of the movement, repetition, and cooperation. So everything goes on. The technique will remain same here because in till assistance you require the same thing, and resisted you just apply a resistance, and which is the minimal resistance only at the initial range of motion. So the uses and effect will be, again as you are performing assistant resisted, the strength of the muscle will be increased. So you are targeting the muscles from grade 2 to grade 3, that patient should be able to perform the movement actively. The patient should be able to relearn the control of the movement. The confidence of the patient should be increased, and the range of motion should be maintained as well as increased. As the patient in some orthopedic condition post operative, the patient range of motion is restricted to particular range. Patient actively cannot perform certain movement, maybe due to pain or maybe due to some malunion. Then therapy patient actively perform the movement in that particular range of motion. The therapist can apply the resistance, and the rest of the range of motion can be completed by the therapist. Now come the resisted exercises. Resisted exercises, an external force may be applied to the body levers to oppose the force of muscular contraction. Now this is a very huge topic, and it will be a part of a second year. There are 5 factors which contribute to the development of the muscular efficiency, that will be the power, endurance, volume, speed of the contraction, and coordination. So depending upon the condition whether you want to treat a athlete or you want to treat orthopedic or the neurological conditions, depends on the prognosis how the resistance exercises progresses. So here the techniques will be starting position, again the comfort of the patient and the position of the patient is required. You explain the pattern of the movement, either you demonstrate or patient you can perform it passively on the contralateral part of the movement. Stabilization whenever required so that the trick movement should not occur. Traction can be given as it elicit the myotactic reflex, provides a powerful stimulus to contraction. The resisting force, now the resisting force can be generated either with the help of a tool or by the therapist himself. Initially when you start giving the resistance, then therapist manually give the resistance. You judge whether the patient can perform the movement without a trick movement, then you can start with the color coded therabands, like a lighter color codes give the light provide the lighter lower resistance, and the heavy color like black one or the silver one provide the higher resistance. So Either you can use a weight cuff if patient is not able to grasp the TheraBand, then or the fine motor is not proper, then you can just apply the weight cuff starting with the half kg, then progression to the 1 2 3, whatever the need of the patient. Then comes the, or you can use the pulley circuit. Then come the character of the movement. Character of the movement initially smooth and controlled throughout the effort involved, commanding the patient's full attention. The speed of the movement is consistent with the optimum rate of contraction for the particular group of muscle in relation to the resistance which constitutes the load. The range of the movement is full whenever possible, but resistance can be applied in any part of the range which is convenient or desirable, and the muscles can also be resisted so that they work statically at any particular point in their range. Count the repetition, as you know that number of times the muscles are thrown into action against a resistance varies according to the condition and the individual patient, and it is inadvisable to accept any rule of thumb to the procedure. It depends upon the condition of the patient, and therapist will plan a goal of treatment. Ki how much repetition and how repetition has to be given, and how many sets of repetition has to be given when the resistance force is to be increased. And the last is the cooperation of the patient is needed. Only then the given target or planned target can be achieved. Now the resistance can be given in by the therapist or by the patients with the contralateral normal hand or extremity. Weights can be given, weight and pulley circuit can be given, springs can be used for the resistance, therabands can be used, and even hydrotherapy can be used for the resistance. So this can be the end of the lecture. The in second year you will learn the techniques like the DeLome and the Watkins technique, the Oxford technique and the McQueen technique, and the DAPRI, the progressive resistance. Now in first year the emphasis will be only on the classification, and main practical will be on the passive movement. Thanks for attending the lecture. Hope you understand the lecture. Thank you.